We see everyone wants success to come quickly. We scroll through social media, see overnight wins, viral breakthroughs, and the stories of people who seem to have it all figured out. And we think it should be easy for us too. We want rapid results, instant progress, and to wake up one day having made it. But the truth is, chasing overnight success is one of the biggest traps we fall into. We become obsessed with the goal itself, the end result, and we forget the systems, the habits, and the small consistent actions that actually create lasting change. We focus on outcomes and ignore the repetitions that compound over time. We try to leap ahead instead of taking deliberate steps, and the result is frustration, burnout, and feeling like we're failing, when really, we're just ignoring the parts that matter most. What if I told you there's a way to accelerate your results, make progress faster, and get closer to your goals without cutting corners or skipping the work that actually counts? In this video, I'm going to share 4 strategies, what I like to call behavior multipliers, that make success more reasonable, more predictable, and more within your control. These are practical, research-backed ways to get faster feedback, simplify your actions, design your environment, and leverage your existing abilities. They won't give you magic overnight results, but they will help you get there faster than almost everyone else who's chasing the same dream. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to structure your habits in your life so that consistent effort produces results that feel almost automatic, and you'll be able to start using these principles immediately to create meaningful progress. If you're ready to stop chasing myths, stop spinning your wheels, and start building a system that actually works, then this is for you. The first strategy that can dramatically accelerate your results is the power of rapid feedback. Feedback is the compass that tells you whether you're moving in the right direction or veering off course. Without it, even the best intentions can wander aimlessly, and you can spend months or years working hard without ever knowing if your actions are producing the results you want. Think about learning a new skill, improving your posture, or trying to establish a new habit. If the only feedback you get is a vague sense of progress or waiting for others to notice, the process is slow and inconsistent. That's why immediate feedback is so valuable. When you can see the effect of your actions in real time, you can make small adjustments and course corrections quickly, keeping yourself on the fastest path to improvement. For example, if you want to improve your posture, placing a subtle cue like a piece of tape across your shoulder can instantly alert you whenever you start to slouch. It's a small, simple signal, but it brings awareness to your behavior in the moment, which is the first step toward consistent improvement. Awareness alone is a multiplier. It magnifies your ability to act intentionally. The faster you can notice the gap between where you are and where you want to be, the faster you can close it. This principle doesn't just apply to posture or exercise. It applies to every habit, skill, and goal you pursue. Want to write more consistently? Track your writing sessions daily and notice patterns immediately. Want to improve your productivity? Measure your output at the end of each day and make adjustments before tomorrow. Rapid feedback turns abstract goals into tangible, actionable insights, and it prevents small mistakes from becoming long-term setbacks. When you start to treat feedback as a tool rather than criticism, it changes everything. You begin to embrace learning over perfection, and you start seeing progress that is both measurable and motivating. Even small, incremental feedback signals compound over time, allowing you to accelerate results in a way that feels almost exponential. The key is to design your systems so that feedback is immediate, noticeable, and actionable. It doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It just has to be consistent. The moment you see a gap between your current behavior and your desired outcome, you take a small step to close it, and that repetition over weeks and months becomes the engine of rapid progress. By leaning into feedback rather than avoiding it, you give yourself a practical tool that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. This principle is simple, but it's overlooked by most people because it requires honesty, awareness, and willingness to respond. The second strategy that can significantly accelerate your results is simplicity. Complexity is one of the biggest obstacles to consistent progress, and often we think that working harder, adding more tasks, or trying to juggle everything at once is the key to success. The truth is the opposite. Eliminating distractions, Reducing unnecessary steps and focusing only on what matters most is far more effective. Think about the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. In almost any area of life, roughly 80% of the results come from just 20% of the effort. For example, 20% of your clients may generate 80% of your revenue, or 20% of your exercises may produce 80% of your fitness results. But knowing this fact isn't enough. The challenge is not only to identify the most important actions, but also to actively remove or ignore the less productive ones. Most people waste time on tasks that feel urgent but are insignificant, like checking emails unnecessarily, overanalyzing small decisions, or trying to optimize minor parts of a routine before mastering the essentials. Simplicity requires ruthlessness. It requires making a clear choice to focus your energy where it has the greatest impact and saying no to the rest. By removing the noise, you create space for progress. You free your mind from indecision and reduce the friction that slows down action. When your environment and schedule are uncluttered, when you know exactly what matters and have eliminated the rest, taking consistent, meaningful action becomes almost effortless. Simplicity isn't about doing less because you're lazy. It's about doing less because you are strategic. It's about directing your energy toward the behaviors that will produce the most significant results, rather than scattering yourself across 100 small tasks that produce minimal impact. By creating systems that prioritize only the essential actions and eliminate distractions, you make the path to success more obvious and more achievable. Every decision becomes easier when there are fewer options, and every step forward is amplified because you are moving in the direction that truly matters. The simplicity principle is a multiplier for your efforts. It ensures that your energy, time, and focus are invested where they count the most, and it turns small, consistent actions into extraordinary results. When you combine simplicity with rapid feedback, you create a system where you can notice what works immediately, ignore what doesn't, and make the right choices effortlessly. By doing less but focusing on the right things, you reduce stress, maintain consistency, and accelerate progress in every area of life without overcomplicating the process. Another critical factor that accelerates progress and makes habits easier to stick with is environment. The world around you shapes your behavior more than you might realize, often in ways that are subtle but powerful. Every cue in your surroundings, every person you interact with, and every object you see acts as a trigger, either nudging you toward positive behaviors or pulling you away from them. For instance, if your kitchen counters are cluttered with unhealthy snacks, you'll find yourself mindlessly eating more than you intend. If your living room furniture faces a television and your day is filled with distractions, you'll naturally spend more time sitting and less time moving. On the other hand, small changes to your environment can dramatically influence your habits in the right direction. Laying out your running shoes and workout clothes the night before, keeping water bottles visible, or keeping healthy food in plain sight all act as cues that make good behaviors effortless. The people around you also have a huge impact. If you spend time with friends who value fitness, read regularly, or pursue creative hobbies, these behaviors start to feel normal, almost inevitable. The environment doesn't just shape what you do, it shapes what you consider possible and acceptable. By designing an environment that aligns with the results you want, you reduce the amount of willpower and decision-making required to take action. You create a context where the right choice is the easiest choice, and the wrong choice feels unnatural or inconvenient. This doesn't mean that you have to overhaul your entire life or move to a new city. Even small adjustments, like placing your gym bag near the door, working in a clean, distraction-free space, or joining communities of like-minded individuals, can drastically increase the likelihood that you'll stick with your habits. Over time, these tiny environmental cues compound, nudging you forward without conscious effort, reinforcing consistency, and helping you maintain momentum. The more your environment supports your desired behavior, the less your success relies on motivation or willpower alone. It's a simple yet powerful multiplier for habit formation. Most people underestimate the power of their surroundings, but by intentionally shaping the spaces and social circles around you, you make the behaviors you want to adopt almost automatic. When your environment subtly guides you toward better decisions, consistent action becomes natural, effortless, and sustainable. By combining rapid feedback, simplicity, and a supportive environment, you create a system where the right behaviors are not only easier to perform, but also easier to maintain long-term. Success becomes less about pushing yourself through resistance and more about allowing your environment to guide you toward the outcomes you desire naturally, without constant struggle or self-discipline battles. Another essential factor that shapes how quickly you progress and how easily you can maintain your habits is your ability or skill level in a particular area. The more skilled you are at something, the less effort it takes to take consistent action and the faster you see results. Think about exercise, for example. If you can already perform 100 push-ups in a row, doing 10 push-ups daily feels effortless. Your body, your muscles, and your mind are already primed for the movement. Contrast that with someone whose maximum is just 10 push-ups. The same daily goal suddenly feels overwhelming, exhausting, and easy to skip. This principle extends far beyond physical exercise. It applies to any skill, whether it's writing, playing an instrument, learning a language, or mastering a craft. When you operate within your strengths, progress feels natural, and maintaining consistency becomes much easier. On the other hand, if you repeatedly try to push past your current abilities without proper preparation or skill building, the chances of burnout or frustration increase dramatically. This is why it's important to recognize your current capabilities and to work on systems that gradually improve them over time. Incremental improvement compounds, and small gains in ability can make habits feel almost automatic. There's also the question of natural talent and genetic potential. Some people are naturally predisposed to certain skills or fields. Someone tall has a head start in basketball. Someone with a good ear for music may pick up instruments faster. While talent alone won't guarantee success, leveraging your natural strengths allows you to accelerate progress and enjoy early wins that fuel motivation. Playing a game that aligns with your skill set doesn't mean you stop challenging yourself. It means you set yourself up for sustainable growth. You combine consistent effort with an environment and habits that amplify your strengths, so action becomes easier and results more predictable. Over time, this combination of skill, small consistent habits, and supportive context can make what once seemed impossible feel inevitable. Success stops being about fighting resistance constantly and starts being about guiding yourself through a system that works with your abilities. You're no longer trying to force yourself to achieve a goal. Instead, you create conditions where the goal achieves itself naturally as you take small, deliberate actions each day. When ability is aligned with habits, environment, simplicity, and feedback, momentum builds rapidly, compounding your results without requiring extraordinary bursts of effort or reliance on motivation alone. By focusing on what you can realistically do, improving your skills over time, and aligning your habits with your strengths, you create a framework for progress that feels both achievable and sustainable. Even though the idea of overnight success is tempting, the reality is that most achievements are the result of consistent effort over time. What separates people who seem to succeed quickly from everyone else isn't magic. It's a combination of deliberate action, smart strategies, and systems that amplify results. One of the most important factors in accelerating progress without cutting corners is rapid feedback. The faster you receive feedback on your actions, the sooner you can adjust, improve, and make better decisions. Imagine trying to improve your posture or develop a new skill without ever knowing if you're doing it correctly. Without immediate signals, it's easy to continue practicing mistakes, wasting time and energy. By designing a system that gives you instant feedback, you can see what works, correct what doesn't, and reinforce behaviors that actually move the needle. This principle applies across all areas of life: fitness, learning, work, or personal development. When feedback loops are short, every small action compounds and progress becomes visible much faster. Another multiplier for reasonable success is simplicity. Eliminating distractions and focusing on the essential tasks allows your efforts to be more effective. Most people get lost in a long to-do list, wasting energy on low-impact activities while the most important actions go unfinished. By identifying the few actions that generate the majority of results and cutting out everything else, you create space for consistent, high-leverage effort. Your time, energy, and attention are finite, so applying them where they matter most naturally accelerates progress. The environment you live in is equally critical. Your surroundings, the cues in your home or workspace, and the people you spend time with all shape your behavior. If unhealthy habits are encouraged, it becomes harder to stick with positive routines. On the other hand, if your environment is structured to make the right behavior easy and automatic, you're far more likely to maintain consistency. For example, laying out your workout clothes the night before or surrounding yourself with people who share your goals subtly nudges you toward success without requiring constant willpower. Finally, your existing ability or skill level influences how quickly habits stick and results appear. When you operate in areas where your skills are aligned with your actions, progress feels easier and more natural. Leveraging your strengths allows you to take consistent action with less friction, while gradually improving skills compounds your success over time. Combining immediate feedback, simplicity, supportive environments, and skill alignment doesn't create instant results, but it creates conditions where progress accelerates naturally. The systems and habits you build now will determine how quickly you reach your goals and how sustainable that success becomes. Even with all the right habits, strategies, and systems in place, progress can feel slow if we underestimate the role of patience and consistent effort. One of the most overlooked multipliers of success is the compounding effect of small, repeated actions over time. Many people chase big wins or hope for rapid breakthroughs, but in reality, meaningful progress is rarely sudden. It comes from showing up day after day, making tiny improvements, and letting those small gains accumulate. Think about the difference between someone who practices a skill for 10 minutes every day for a year versus someone who practices for 2 hours once a month. The first person may appear to make slower progress at first, but their consistent effort compounds into a level of mastery that is far beyond the occasional intensive bursts. Patience is essential because it allows the systems we build to work for us. Without giving them time, it's easy to become frustrated and abandon strategies that are actually effective. This is why the most successful people focus on the process rather than obsessing over immediate results. They understand that visible outcomes are simply the byproduct of habits practiced consistently, not the cause of their persistence. Another critical factor in accelerating progress responsibly is learning from reflection and self-awareness. Monitoring your actions, noticing what works, and adjusting accordingly ensures that the energy you put in produces the maximum return. Without reflection, even consistent effort can drift into inefficiency or misdirection. Combining consistent action with thoughtful reflection creates a feedback loop that reinforces good behavior and corrects mistakes early, preventing wasted time and effort. Additionally, the ability to leverage momentum cannot be overstated. Once small habits take root and begin to compound, each successive action becomes easier and more natural. This is why persistence is so powerful. The first steps are often the hardest, but as the habit strengthens, effort decreases while output increases. Surrounding yourself with the right environment and support further magnifies this momentum. Habits become effortless when your surroundings reinforce them, when cues and triggers nudge you toward positive behaviors, and when the people around you model the results you hope to achieve. Finally, aligning your actions with your natural strengths and abilities ensures that progress accelerates even further. When the work you do plays to your skills, interest, and energy, small actions feel manageable, rewarding, and repeatable. In this way, consistent practice, patience, reflection, momentum, and alignment all combine to multiply the effect of your efforts, helping you make rapid progress without shortcuts or unrealistic expectations. Success is not instant, but with the right systems in place, results arrive sooner than you might think. Even when you understand systems, habits, and compounding, there is one multiplier that is often underestimated: the environment in which you live and work. Our surroundings subtly shape every choice we make, from the food we eat to the amount of time we spend sitting or moving. If your environment is aligned with your goals, progress feels natural and almost effortless. If it isn't, you are constantly fighting against invisible forces that make good habits more difficult and bad habits easier. Consider how simple changes in your immediate surroundings can create enormous leverage. Placing your running shoes and workout clothes where you can see them every morning increases the likelihood that you will go for a run without having to rely on motivation. On the other hand, leaving snacks and sugary drinks out in plain sight can make it far harder to maintain healthy eating habits, no matter how disciplined you think you are. Environment acts as a series of cues and triggers, guiding your actions before you even consciously make a decision. This is why people who live among disciplined, goal-oriented individuals often find it easier to maintain positive routines. Social influence is one of the most powerful environmental factors because humans naturally mirror the behavior of those around them. Spending time with people who exercise regularly, eat well, or pursue personal development can normalize those behaviors and make them easier to adopt. Conversely, a setting where distractions, poor habits, or procrastination are normalized can sabotage even the strongest intentions. Beyond the physical space and social surroundings, the digital environment plays a similar role. Constant notifications, endless social media feeds, and unnecessary apps compete for attention and erode focus. By deliberately designing your digital space, removing distractions, organizing tools, and limiting unnecessary input, you reduce friction for productive actions and increase the likelihood of following through on habits. The key is to set up an environment where the right behaviors are the path of least resistance. When the default choice aligns with your goals, you conserve energy and rely less on willpower, which is limited. Small tweaks like changing the layout of your workspace, automating healthy choices, or creating accountability with peers can multiply the effects of your effort many times over. This principle shows that success is not only about working harder, but also about working smarter within a framework that supports your objectives. By taking control of the cues, triggers, and social context around you, you create conditions in which your habits naturally thrive, making progress more sustainable and less dependent on fleeting motivation. In essence, the right environment transforms good intentions into consistent action, shaping your results before you even realize it and allowing your efforts to compound in ways that might otherwise take years to achieve. Even when your environment is optimized, there's one factor that can dramatically accelerate your results: your ability in the skill or habit you are trying to develop. Ability shapes the speed at which progress compounds. The easier a task feels, the more likely you are to do it consistently, and the faster you build momentum. Imagine two people trying to build a habit of push-ups. One can already do 50 push-ups in a row effortlessly, while the other struggles to complete 5. For the first person, doing 10 push-ups a day feels simple and almost automatic. For the second person, the same 10 push-ups feel exhausting and demotivating. The difference in skill level determines how much energy each person has to invest in starting and sustaining the habit. This principle extends beyond physical abilities. If you're trying to develop writing, programming, or public speaking habits, your existing proficiency and knowledge base will make it easier to get started and maintain consistency. The greater your ability, the less friction you experience, and the more natural it becomes to repeat the behavior until it becomes a habit. This is why it's critical to play the game that aligns with your current strengths. Working within your skill set allows you to achieve progress faster and creates a sense of mastery that fuels further growth. Conversely, trying to force yourself into a habit or skill that is far beyond your current ability creates resistance and frustration, which can derail consistency before it even starts. Developing your ability doesn't happen overnight, but it compounds over time. Small, deliberate practice in areas that build on your strengths will make habits easier, more enjoyable, and more sustainable. If you focus on improving what you can do rather than chasing a distant ideal, your likelihood of success multiplies. This concept also reinforces why many so-called overnight successes are actually the result of years of skill development behind the scenes. When ability, environment, and behavior multipliers align, it accelerates your progress and makes the results feel almost effortless. The key takeaway is that working smarter, not just harder, requires you to understand your current strengths and leverage them to create consistent, repeatable success. By focusing on the areas where you already have skill, you reduce resistance, build confidence, and set yourself up for compounding improvement that eventually produces extraordinary results. So as you think about your own habits and routines, consider not just what you want to do, but how your current abilities influence your capacity to do it consistently. What is one area where you already have a strength that you could leverage today to make building a habit easier and more automatic? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this insight useful, hit like so you don't miss the next video, where we'll dive into the hidden pitfalls that often stop people from sticking with new habits and how to avoid them to make progress almost effortlessly.